Good evening. Tonight I'm going to tell you about my research, not thinking about the future, financial awareness, and maternal labor supply. Let me start with this graph. Here, what we see is the evolution of labor earnings 5 years before having a child, up to 10 years after having a child. The dashed lines are earnings of men. The solid lines are earnings of women. You have 3 lines for each, which are 3 countries, Austria, Germany, and Switzerland. And the solid vertical line marks the time when they have the first child. What we can see is that for men, earnings remain unchanged after having the first child. The picture is very different for women. So we see this persistent and sharp decline in their labor earnings. This is what researchers have coined the child penalty. For Switzerland, 10 years after having a child, mothers earn 68% less than fathers. And this is, of course, coming from a large reduction in work hours after having children. The child penalty has profound financial consequences for mothers' lives. So they accumulate much less earnings, and also their pension savings are actually much lower. So the question is whether mothers are actually aware of the financial consequences of part-time work. We ran a survey among mothers in Switzerland, and what we find is that a large share of mothers are actually unaware. Let me give you 2 numbers. We find that 60% of mothers overestimate the pension they will get under part-time work, thinking that it would be higher than in reality. The second number is that we also find that 60% of mothers think that the wage growth under part-time work is going to be similar to that of full-time employment. We are going to call this group of mothers who are over-optimistic unaware mothers. And I will come back to this concept in a few slides. So now that we know that a large share of mothers is unaware, thus providing information about the financial implications of part-time work change their behavior, in particular, shift their work hours upwards. To answer this question, we ran a large-scale field experiment in Switzerland. We recruited 3,000 mothers that work as teachers in a large German-speaking region in Switzerland. And then we randomized them into 2 groups. Half of them went to the control group. This group didn't receive any additional information. The other half went into the treatment group. And here, this group received the treatment material, which consisted of a financial tool that we developed with the Zurich Cantonal Bank, where people, in particular mothers, can make individualized projections of the consequences of different work hours in the future, and they can make different simulations. And they see what the impact of working hours will be on lifetime earnings and on their pension payments. So does this treatment actually work? We asked mothers after the treatment, how much do you want to work in 5 and 10 years from now? What I'm going to show you here is already the treatment effect, which is the difference between the treatment and the control group. And I'm going to show you the results for the 2 groups I discussed before. Aware mothers are those that already know that the part-time pensions are going to be low. Unaware mothers are the overly optimistic mothers. Before receiving our information, they think that the pensions are going to be much higher than in reality. What do we find? So for aware mothers, as you see, the bars are around 0. So they don't change their decisions because they already knew that what their choices were costly for their financial future. So the treatment and the control group want to work the same in 5 and 10 years from now. For unaware mothers, in contrast, we find a positive effect. The bars are positive, meaning that the treated mothers want to work more in 5 and 10 years from now, compared to the control mothers. And this is a large effect. It's an 8% increase. The question is that they say that they want to work more. But do they actually work more? What we did is to merge our survey data with data from their employer, where we can see 1 year after receiving our information whether they are actually working more hours or not in the employment records. We do the same thing as before. Aware mothers, they don't change their work hours. They are working the same hours, the treated and the control mothers. In contrast, unaware mothers work more hours 1 year after our intervention. This is a 6% increase. And to give you an idea of the magnitude, this means that 1 out of 3 of these unaware mothers is now working half a day more. If we take one of these unaware mothers, and she continues to work this half a day more for the future, this means that her income loss will be reduced by 18%, her pension receipt will increase by 15%, and the gender pension gap will narrow by half. Let me conclude by saying that employers can use this type of tool. This is a simple and low-cost solution that can help women who are unaware of the financial consequences of part-time costs make fully informed decisions and mitigate these financial consequences. This can, in turn, increase the retention of female talent and close the child penalty graph that we saw in the first slide. Thanks a lot. Have a wonderful evening.